What's a movie you love that is unpopular or unknown by most people? Out Cold, 2001. I don't know if it's disliked, but I haven't met anyone in real life who's heard of it. It's Casablanca, but with snowboarders and a profane Zach Galifianakis. I've snowboarded my entire life. Still make a point of watching it at least once a season. I really liked Mary and Maximum. Most people don't know of it. I've only seen it comes up once in a sad movie AskReddit post. Animation was great and the story had me crying at the end like a baby. It's one of the most depressing movies. That doesn't make you depressed. It was a happy cry for sure, but it's so sad. Is that the one where the little depressed girl befriends the man with Asperger's? Hands down one of my favorite movies. Can't ever find it streaming. Rat Race. Movie is hysterical with a great cast. Maybe it's popular, but I've never heard anyone talk about it. Even when it came out in theaters. It's a race. It's a race. Should have bought a squirrel. Song of the Sea. Yes. This one is so pretty. I went to babysit my friend's kids one night, and while the friend was getting ready to go, her daughter asked me if I liked the film and I replied I'd never seen it. Friend said, "What? Okay. You kids can skip your bath tonight. You have to show her this movie." I was impressed. The story is sweet and the visuals are stunning. Captain Ron. I know a near land. How do you know that? When we left, we had just enough fuel to make it to San Juan. And now, we're out of fuel. Kurt Russell is in a surprising number of my favorite films. UHF. Hey kids. Let's go to Spatula City. Badgers? Badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers. Condiment. When I was a kid, Condiment was cooler to me than any other superhero. The secret race car built into the floor of the junky old van was the height of awesome. Since the director, Donner, passed and I saw it mentioned a couple of times with him, I'll go with Lady Hawk, Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, and pre-Ferris Bueller Matthew Broderick. This may not be unknown enough to qualify, but Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits, incredible cast and just an all-around great Gilliam fantasy, especially for anyone interested in world history. Yeah, it's great. Awesome visuals, when they start shoving the wall in his bedroom and the face of God is following them. And incidental visual details, like the fact that in the background at the end when they are in the ruined castle, you can see it's made of giant Lego bricks. Or the fact that one of the stupid demons has idiot mittens on, the kind that have a bit of string attaching them to each other passing under your upper garments so you can't lose them. I taped it on VHS as a kid and watched it to destruction of the tape. Angus. The 13th Warrior. It got bad reviews, but I think it's a fun movie to watch. Great movie, and there are a few memorable scenes. One that blew me away was Antonio character who is smart but can't speak the language of the other 12. From memory, the Vikings are not translated. As somebody watching the movie, you are like the 13th and not understanding what they are saying. He tags along on a longish journey just listening to the others chat, swear and abuse him. Then he suddenly swears back as he has figured out enough of the language. At that point all the characters speak the same language. I can't think of another movie that dealt with characters not understanding other characters' language like this. I really liked that movie too. I honestly don't know how they spent $60 million making that movie because it looks like it could be made pretty cheap today as a Netflix film. But it's still a fun watch. Beowulf coming out to fight with his men despite being poisoned and almost dead and doing that Viking prayer is so badass. LMAO. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. I love that movie. Ginger Snaps. I think the Ginger Snaps trilogy has quite a cult following, but most people definitely didn't hear about them. You should also check out American Mary. Mom and Dad Save the World. Dumb low-budget comedy from the 90s that was simply fantastic. My favorite Martian. Probably just nostalgia, but I just love how ridiculous it is. Better Off Dead. An 80s teen comedy starring John Cusack in which he repeatedly tries to commit suicide, humorously. Has cartoon claymation animated hallucinations set to Van Halen. Has to win a ski competition to woo his ex. And is relentlessly stalked by a young paperboy over $2. It's incredibly goofy and one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. Edit. And there is also a pop-punk band named after the protagonist that has clips from the movie in most of their songs. Gee Ricky, I'm real sorry your mom blew up. The Burbs. It has so many good quotes and it's sad when no one ever knows what I'm talking about. Pizza Dude. Sardines. Pandorum. A sci-fi horror Resident Evil type film. It's an entertaining popcorn movie. Love that movie. Super underrated sci-fi. I caught this one randomly on like Netflix or something years ago and was expecting schlocky garbage horror but was pleasantly surprised. I think it's actually pretty good. It feels a bit like if somebody made an actually decent Dead Space movie. Six String Samurai. Basically a post-apocalyptic flick where the bombs went off in the 50s and Buddy Holly had to pick up a sword and go roaming samurai in the wasteland. Edit. Got curious if I could find it because it's been a few years and apparently it's on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out. I interned at a public access TV station. On my first day, I walked my boss office and noticed he had posters of Six String Samurai and The Crow Wicked Prayer on his wall. I didn't bother to ask but looked up the movies on IMDb when I got home and discovered my boss directed those films. Soundtrack done by Red Elvises. That is such a fun weird little movie. Red Eye. B-level movie where Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams blow everyone else out of the water. If I am not mistaken directed by Wes Craven. Saw this in theaters. It was great. Anastasia, the soundtrack to this film will always be amazing. Mrs. Pettigrew Lives for a Day. It's a cute, feel-good movie with a surprisingly high-caliber cast. Yes, I went into this not knowing much about it. But it's such a lovely movie. I learned afterwards it was based on a novel, published in 1938, which I tracked down. A fun read. One of my favorites. If you like that, try Saving Grace. 2000. A small-town English widow, facing financial troubles after her husband's suicide, turns to agriculture of an illegal kind. It's a great little film and they kind of remind me of each other. Also Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont is very good. Reign of Fire is the tits and I never hear it talked about. Matthew McConaughey was absolutely amazing in that movie. An American Madman LOL. OMG. I love that movie. I still contend it has some of the best looking dragons that have appeared on screen. House 1977. It is probably the best horror comedy out there. Zorro. The Gay Blade. It's Zorro and his secret twin brother who is extremely flamboyant and it's absolutely hysterical. Maybe he can give lessons to my wife. Yes. 4 bits. 6 bits. A peso. The Ref. A favorite Christmas movie of mine. I thought mothers were sweet and nice and patient. I know loan sharks who are more forgiving than you. Your husband ain't dead. Lady. He's hiding. Thank you for smoking. Pop star. Never Stop Never Stopping bombed at the box office. But in my opinion it's one of the best comedies ever made. A satire of pop stardom written by and starring The Lonely Island. And featuring a song with the lyrics "Frick me like we fricked Bin Laden." Should have won an Oscar tbh. Andy Samberg never ceases to amuse me. Watched that movie recently on Amazon. Loved it. I don't need to watch the actual boy band documentaries to know how close the parodies are to real life. Andy's HBO mockumentaries are really good too. 7 Days in Hell and Tour de Pharmacy. I feel like not enough people know about Waking Ned Devine. Yes. Absolutely amazing. Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal. $500. Mayo. I love Bubble Boy. I just watched it again for the first time in forever a few months ago. It's like one of those movies that epitomizes the 90s. Also you get Danny Trejo, Fabio, Vern Troyer, Little King,